Right. Well, great. I think we're rolling, everybody. I'm glad folks could join us today. We are going to go ahead and record this, Perla, so we can let folks have access to it later. The problem right now is this will probably be our last interview for a while because it's summer here, just about. It's at least 60 degrees today, sunny, beautiful. The trees are just leafing out. The leaves are fairly large. I'm looking at my apple trees out here. No flowers yet, big buds. So people are not going to be inside anymore for 3 months. So
that's great news.
Yeah. So we'll have access to you later on. So my special guest from 5,000 miles away is Perla Sofia Curbelo Santiago, whose beautiful name is like music. Just it's fun to say. So
thank you,
everybody. This is
thank
Perla.
you.
So she's born and raised in Puerto Rico, and she lives on that island. We want to find out more about that. She's the second of 3 kids. Parents are alive. Mom's a retired physical therapist and now a coffee farmer, which is interesting. And dad's an editor and coffee farmer and a painter and a poet. So what a talented family. Perla's a stepmom to 2 young ladies, Sofia and Veronica, and a dog mom to Rocco. So that's always good to know. She has a major in psychology, a master's in communication, and specializes in public relations. Boy, this list goes on, you guys. It's amazing. She's worked
we can go during the conversation. We can go back and forth about that.
Sure. She's worked as a journalist, radio producer, TV presenter, and a couple years ago tried podcasting called La Verdura de Hoy, Today's Greenery. That verdura, I read a lot of Westerns, and people use that word verdure here to mean
verdure from the French.
The greenery, from verde, from probably Latin before Spanish. But if you know that word, it really is the greenery.
The greenery, because when we talk here in Puerto Rico and in other parts of Latin America, but particularly in Puerto Rico, when you talk about verdura, is what is a side dish. It could be jam, it could be plantain, things like that. So it is the side dish of a major dish, but you can also make it your principal dish. But I was reading a few years ago a colleague journalist. He is specialized in gastronomic journalism, and he was talking about verdura, and he said that verdura or verdure in places like France, he mentioned that they associated with what you have. It's the kind of food that it seeds that you have a lot of it. So we here have jam, but in other places can be a beef, something like that, and they call it verdure. So for me, it was very interesting. So it doesn't have to be a green. It can be a meat, and for me it was an information that I didn't know. But verdura, you use it. I use it to talk about green stuff, green information, because green is verde in Spanish. So I use it for the double reason.
Okay, no, I never heard that other one, so that's good to know. And that's just another thing with language, especially with horticulture. People maybe aren't comfortable with some of the Latin names now, but if I tell you a Latin name, it's the same for us 5,000 miles away because it's universal. But then to learn those origins is so much fun. And of course, you remember in Salt Lake City, we had Martha Barnett. Had the book, The Garden of Words, which traces a lot of these words back, and some of them come from so far back, and it's just fascinating. So
I love that conference. Yesterday, I was doing an interview, And the lady I was talking to, a farmer that she's distributing food around the island, and well, it's in certain parts of the island. But she opened an e-commerce so people can go and order food, and she delivered. And
Delivered, yeah.
she called she called the website Bocatra. I don't remember from what place she said she uses the word, but Bocatra with V means harvest, cosecha in Spanish. So it was amazing, and I was like, oh my God, Bocatra. So it keeps coming. So I enjoy. I'm so sorry I hijacked your your interview.
Oh no, this is fun. It's just fun getting to know you and the amazing thing that we can do with this technology. And,
Yes.
it's so cool. So, and it's like 5 o'clock there, so it's only 4 hours difference. I got to mention that I actually met Perla in Buffalo a couple years ago. It was the Garden Writers Conference. We're now known as Garden Communicators International. I've been in the group for about 9 or 10 years, and Buffalo was your first one, and also our friend Andrea also. So we sort of made like a high school reunion, who traveled the farthest. So I made a note here. For me, to Buffalo was about 3,000 miles, 3,100 miles. From Puerto Rico to Buffalo was 1,800 miles. So you traveled the least. And our friend Andrea from Australia, 10,000 miles. She was the winner of traveling the farthest. They do this at high school reunions a lot of times. I think Stacy's going to try and put up our.
Who came second? It was me or it was you?
Pardon?
After who was the second place? It was Andrea was the first one. She came from Australia, and the second one
I was second place.
You were second.
Well, she was the longest. I was the next, and you were the shortest trip.
I was the third one.
It would take you longer to get to Alaska though, because we're 5,000 miles away.
But I remember that encounter because it was my first garden communications conference. I knew people by reference, and from the very beginning, as soon as I said, "Oh, I'm coming from Puerto Rico," things like that, and everybody was very welcoming through media, through social media. But again, when you go to places, when you encounter people face to face, you don't know what to expect. And I remember when I was like, let me go like 2 hours before the seminar, the writing seminar that we have a couple days before the conference started, and check things out. And I remember I saw you with Igor. I don't remember his last name, but I was like, let me be friendly, and you guys were amazing. And then we end up in the same conference room with Mary Kate, having the seminar.
There we go.
There we are. Andrea, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and looks like she won't be leaving Australia for a while, huh?
Yes, I read that the other day. We're in a situation that we are considering, in my case, that I live in the island. I was like, well, I think this year, at least 2020, I'm not gonna go, and that saddened me. But I'm not planning to fly any sooner, because again, all the consideration, of course, the security considerations, safety net, things like that. So sometimes you start to balance, okay, if it's worthy to go through all of that. And so yeah, for me too, this 2020, I'm considering not to travel, at least for till this pandemic ends and things like that. So
yeah,
a lot of people think
it's going to be the same here. We don't expect a lot of outside tourists, so I think that this summer will be Alaskans can be the tourists, because sometimes in your own space, your own country or state, you don't do the touristy things. So let's give us a chance. And you and I talked about that. You're going to go out and see some things. And I've been to Puerto Rico. We had a Caribbean cruise and stopped there. Had a great tour with the van driver. His name was Rocky, and he was awesome. He took us to El Yunque and the rainforest. Yeah, it's beautiful. I hope get enough rain there to keep that going. I remember driving by the road, 50 miles an hour, and I'm doing botany like this out the window, and these flowers caught my eye, and it turns out they were impatiens that were about 2 feet tall, that were just abundant and natural there. It was so much fun.
The rainforest, which is in the northeast part of Puerto Rico, is one of the major attractions in the island. And it's not open for the public, and like other public gardens and parks are not open yet. So it's been rough for everybody to stay at home, and the lifting of certain things that you can do, it's been a process, of course, like every other places. But in the case of El Yunque, it's a great place to go. And as you mentioned, the same is going to happen here in Puerto Rico. A lot of people is going to, as soon as the quarantine start, or certain services start lifting, and permissions, things like that are lifted, people are going to start going into gardens, parks, and they're going to do things locally, or at least more things like that go around the island. And it's been huge for the last few years, but this time it's going to be more, we're going to have more of that, and we'll see. So we're waiting for the parks and gardens to open, or at least for a certain amount of time. Right now, people can go outside and have an exercise from 5 a.m. till 7 p.m. But beaches are closed too. So yeah.
How about your garden centers? We kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yes, of course. Garden centers, a couple weeks ago, they start opening. They are taking orders over the phone, online, and few are letting people go in. You have to make an appointment. This morning I went to to one of them, and
of course you did.
Those are the reasons. Like I told my husband, these are the only reasons that I go out for the garden center, or maybe if there's a earthquake or something. That, of course, that's the only reason. And of course my garden. But yes, this morning I went to the garden center, and you have to make an appointment. They're opening from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Of course, if you are in the horticultural business, you are allowed to go in previous hours, like from 7 to before it opens to the general public. And one of the things that is happening here also is that the trend is that people are spending more time in their home, so they are doing their own vegetable gardens. So there were almost anything related to veggie garden in the garden center. So the demand has been huge in the last couple of months here in the island. A lot of people are very interested to have their veggie garden, and they are asking for seeds. But when you go to the garden center, there's few plants. So the nurseries are having a lot of demands now to deliver plants. So that's one of the things that are happening here in the island.
Yeah, same thing here. We did an interview with Renee Shepard from Renee's Garden Seeds, said the same thing, and Ed Hume also, that, and I've talked to folks at Botanical Interest and
Yeah.
Territorial Seeds. Seeds have flown off the shelves, or their orders. There's no world seed shortage, I've been assured, but there may be limited supplies in the stores. And Renee had a good idea with that. If you can't find your favorites, try something new. But that's the same trend here with, like you mentioned, kind of our victory garden, old idea. School gardens, I hope to see get more developed. Of course, there's difficulty being there, but we're pretty open, and you know, we have a smaller population, and we're spread out, and we have nice fresh air here.
Yeah.
So it's been, I think, a little easier here than some places. But you guys have gone through so much with earthquakes and hurricanes, and now this, and it's just got to be tough. But gardening is essential.
Yes.
You have a certification with horticultural therapy that you.
Oh yeah. I'm
So
new in this field. Yes, I finished the certification last November, and I remember that I was like, oh my God. And now in December, January, I'm gonna start promoting this, and then the earthquake came, and it suddenly was like, oh my God, this is actually it changed everybody's plans, and in terms of what I do, for example. But now more than ever, you see that horticulture, using horticulture as a tool for your mental health, for your health in general. It's more than it's more important than ever. And but yes, that's gonna come handy for me because from a long time ago I've been studying the topic, but it wasn't just not till last year that I could go to I could do the Chicago Botanical Garden certification, and now we are in the process of getting things together to offer more, to help offer more information about it. Here in Puerto Rico now, we're starting to see people interested in the topic. There's a university who is interested to do to make a certification available in Spanish. A few weeks ago, the university, it's called Ana Jimenez University. It's a private university that organized the first conference on horticultural therapy. So things are coming together. So I'm very happy that that's going on. But you can see that people are doing activities around plants. They are doing the garden, and because they are recognizing the importance that has nature in their life. Like you mentioned, from Hurricane Maria, we lost a lot of vegetation, a lot of trees. So people realize, oh my God, we need also to help reforest our urban areas and our own gardens. So yes, that's what's going on in right now. People are more aware, but at the same time, me as a communicator, and what I do in AgroChic is try also to promote not only that you integrate plants in your life, do the gardens, your vegetable gardens or ornamental gardens in general, but that people start using plants as part of their way of life. And as soon as the quarantine passes, they don't leave that back. They don't back to older behaviors. That's one of the things that I'm very interested to keep promoting, that people learn new things, learn how to plant, and how to make their own vegetable gardens, things like that, and integrate it in a conscious way to their daily basis, to as part of their wellness strategies, as part of the education of their kids, things like that, and to not stop as soon as the pandemic stopped. Yeah. Because you're gonna be losing also a lot of money because that cost you. So.
You know, you are on an island in Puerto Rico. I view us in Alaska as on an island too, because we're, as our Iditarod song says, Hobo Jim, way up in Alaska, the state that stands alone. We're up here separated. Yeah. Same thing, when the boats stop coming, the planes stop coming, we need to be able to take care of ourselves. So this whole gardening thing too, which also leads into food preservation and things like that. We've got hunting and fishing, you know, that's helpful to us, but you know, the earth is an island too, so that metaphor kind of continues on. So very valuable for all of us to literally cultivate food growing and being plant parents, as it's sometimes referred to. And thank goodness we have succulents, so we can all raise those. They're so wildly popular. But Perla, we've got to talk about the sign behind you, Agro Chic, and I'm going to do a little blurb here. You said in 2009 you founded Agro Chic to spread news and information about urban agriculture and gardening. In 2010, you launched the namesake print magazine, which ran until 2013. Then you focused on digital, where you worked on freelance for other outlets. This year, Agro Chic is turning 11 years. It's a platform to get people excited about gardening, and the content is in Spanish, just what you were talking about. But tell us a little bit more about Agro Chic and what you're doing with that.
Well, like you mentioned, we, from the very beginning, my background is, like you mentioned before, psychology, but also communication. And I used to work with my father, who owns a monthly journal on agriculture. So I've been in the agriculture business from high school. So I got to be interested in what consumers were doing in their backyard, things like that. Because me, from when I was a kid, I was interested in what people were doing in their own backyards or front yard, things like that. I loved to go around on my bike and see and try to grab some roses, things like that, and take that back home. So when social media started, like Facebook started, you can see what people were doing. So as the psychology major came through my things, I was like, I wonder what people are doing, their behavior, what are the trends and that. So I decided to focus on general public, what they like, things like that. And of course, I started seeing people doing their vegetable gardens, and I was like, let me write about it. And that's been like that from the very beginning. And of course, we integrate other topics more. We talk about now the trends that using plant for other health benefits, you know, to purify the air in your home. Use it as part of the decoration of your breathing area. So you need or breathing room. So you have a place where you can relax. And now more than ever that you have a lot of people at home, you need a space to relax, to just be with you. So plants help you in that matter. So we write about that. We write also about issues that people may have while they garden. We have people who help us. We have agronomists, other horticulturists who write for us. And what we do is try to focus with people who are starting or people who has few years into gardening and trying new things, and trying to inspire them to start something and stay here, try different things and be enthusiastic about it. And of course, garden tourism. A lot of people are sometimes are react surprised when I mention them, the garden tourism word, that I like to travel around gardens, just like other people travel around a certain topic. Well, you do the same with garden. So that's another topic that we like to cover. And of course, being part of the garden communicators, that opened for me a lot of doors and other topics that I can cover on agrochic.com. And the part of the workshops we were doing, we launched in 2018 an educational program. We were given monthly workshops on different gardening topics. And this year we started February, and that was the only one we could give, because the March garden,
something happened.
Yeah, the March one was like, I remember the day before. I like to go the day before of the every garden workshop to set up the space and everything. And I received the call that everything is canceled to further notice. And yes, now I'm in the process of turning the workshops into the digital, and so I'm in that process right now. But it's been a very productive season too, because at the same time that we are working remotely, a lot of people are asking for content because they want to learn more about how to garden at home. And also brands. I work a lot with brands, not necessarily related to gardening, but they are integrating gardening and environmental topics to their services, or to try to maintain their audiences busy too. So I've been doing some alliance with certain clients, and we've been doing workshops, doing social media, preparing a special posts, things like that. So that's what AgroChic has been doing for the last 10 years, but now we are doing a lot more content for our own and for our clients that are very interested to, and they're more conscious about environment in general, and they know that gardening is the number one things that people think about when they want to do something for the planet. So we're helping in that order.
Yeah, well, and if people maybe just joined in, that all this is in Spanish too, which is awesome. You've definitely got a niche market.
But I can do it in English too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do. I had the experience a few years before in certain workshop that people who are English speakers. So I did the translation, things like that. But
yeah. You can do subtitles down below there. Would be great.
That definitely have to come to be part of it. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Hey, kind of what you were talking, I was thinking that Puerto Rico has really had to kind of reinvent itself.
Yes.
You've had some, political stuff changing up. You've had the hurricane, you've had earthquakes, you had the pandemic, and you hate to even say that word. Just a lot of things. And we've all done that too, had to readjust and a hard reset like we do on our computer sometimes. I'm thinking though, you guys, I could walk out my door today and it's beautiful, kind of a summer day. It's spring, full-blown spring. It's fantastic. I tell people this is why we live here, but it's beautiful all year long, even in the snow. But
Yes.
Can you guys garden 12 months? What would your winter be like? I mean, do you have an off season or a cooler season?
Well, the thing is that you can garden anytime, of
Well,
course.
yeah.
But in here we have the rainy season that makes it more difficult. So, well, we're hoping for it.
Yeah, in a drought
The
right now,
rainy
right?
season to drop in any time. But yeah, even though that we don't have snow, um in November, December is not it's nice to do certain uh to sow certain vegetable things like that. But yeah, you can do it. The only time, at least my experience, again, and for me, I don't garden the 12 month of the year because for me, June and July are so hot.
Yeah.
At least I try to do other things in the garden, but depending on the hour, because it's very hot. It's very hot, and last year was um I remember, I think it was July, that it was over 100 uh, degrees. It's like one day after the other, and yes, you have to decide when to do it, and that's really an advantage. But also, um, we had the last year we have like a lot of rain for like 3 months in a row. So again, um, you can go outside and do some gardening because you were under the rain. And so that I think that answers your question because of certain changes in the climate, things like that. You can do it. So
Ah,
but I that's the one of the myth of the tropical islands. So yeah, you have different stages during the month, and what you decide to do in gardening depend that will depend what are your objectives. um, I always share with people that gardening is not just so vegetable. Gardening also means that you have to do other chores like
oh,
cleaning
yes,
your tools,
yes,
cleaning your garden in pots, things like that. That's gardening for me.
that's
You
true.
know, it's huge. And when you can't go outside because it's too hot or it's rainy, you can do other things. Seems like people are say, "Oh, I can garden during the night." Well, you can't sew. You can do certain things because it is night, but you can also do other chores that maybe after 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So that will depend on you. Of course, if you're talking to a farmer will have another, because they are concentrated in, they have to harvest, and they have clients, and they have to distribute their products, things like that. It's going to be a different situation. But in the general public, there's so many things that you can do. And the same happen in the state, even when it's snowy. You have people who early in January and February, they start doing their sowing seeds
Yes. Yeah,
inside.
yeah,
So
yeah. The nursery
they're
start.
they're gardening.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, for me, it's pretty much cleanup time. I've got a lot
Mm-hmm.
of seeds started and flats and been hardening off, ready to really plant out. We planted a whole bunch of containers the other day that are under remay now, the grow cloth, because I didn't want them to get fried, because we took them right from the nursery and planted them. It was a cloudy day, so that was great. But now it's been full sun, and just don't want to burn up our things. But we
Yes.
hit so hard from, May through hopefully September. We can
Yes.
stretch it out. It's been a great May. I'm almost kind of glad things slow down later. And I've got a greenhouse that we heat, so I can garden all year long. And
oh my God, the greenhouse years get so hot. But if you want to garden, I was telling a friend like a couple of hours before we of this chatting, and I remember she was like, "Oh my God, it's so hot that my tomatoes and my basils are like dying back," and I was like, "You can use like a cover up also." So that's another thing that you can do here. But again, people are getting used to what things they can do, because sometimes you sell people the idea of gardening, it's so beautiful, and when they see the reality that, oh my God, now I have to deal with the sun, the bad insects, things like that, they're starting like, oh, I don't know if I should keep doing this. So I like to put people in context. And of course, as a communicator and I'm also an enthusiast of gardening, I want people to stay into the gardening line. So I want to tell them that, yes, you can do a lot of things in horticulture and gardening, but do it with your own reality. Get to know yourself first. That's the first thing that I say. What are your circumstances? And that it's for everybody is the same. It should be the same. Are you someone that has plenty of time in your hands that you can do a vegetable garden, or you can't? You have no time, even if you are working remotely, you have no time in your hands to have to tend a vegetable garden. So probably, well, you may need other kind of gardening. Maybe you want to garden with houseplant, things like that, and tend few of them. So that's something that I really like to talk about with people. Yes, do everything you can. Try to produce your own food if you have the space. And even if you don't have a patio, a backyard, you can do it in your balcony, something like that. But make it your own, that you can enjoy the process. And if you can harvest it, yay. And if you can't, if something happened that you couldn't, well, it's okay too. But you enjoy the process and you are able to try it again.
I think that's how I learned best, is from mistakes. Like when I've sown a seed flat and really tiny seeds, and maybe I didn't press them down enough or cover them, and I watered, everything flows into the corner. So here's this seed flat with nothing in it, and everything's growing in the corner. So I was very careful of helping people plant, especially those small seeds. Also, it's a great idea to start small, because I know when I started really, actually I've been doing this since I'm a kid, but when I was out on my own, it was a house plant thing that collection grew and grew and grew. But you like you say, you have to kind of make that decision of how much can you handle, how much can you take care of. For us too, I recommend containers a lot. Short season here, we want lots of color. We do hanging baskets are a big thing here. We got color in your face for that short time that we need it. But with things like foodscaping too, you can have a beautiful container with Swiss chard growing in there, marigolds and bacopa and different things, and you can get very creative. It's amazing to grow your own food, and when you do, it's a great idea to go organic, because we get enough chemicals in our life. So treat yourself to something really fresh and clean and safe. But just start small and don't go too crazy. So it'll come, as you're successful too, you feel like, hey, I did it. I can do that. I could grow some.
Yeah, close to your self-esteem. Ronnie, hi, how are you? She wrote a message here in the chat.
Can you see that?
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Ronnie, was that you that said you're buying new hoses? You're done with your bushwhacking?
Yeah, it was a pretty heavy duty clean out this spring.
That's what we're doing. You know, since we've been hunkered down, it would have been nice to start the cleanup a little sooner, but it was still kind of wintry and snow on the ground. And but now there's no excuse. It's like get out there and clean it up. And I had to have a giant spruce tree taken out, so I'm dealing with lots of wood and debarking the wood that was left and dealing with all that. So there's always something to fill the time, isn't there?
And that's the thing, that what I was telling, what we were talking about, there's so many things that you can do in your backyard. Sometimes you don't need to be sewing all the time. So there's so many chores that are part of the experience, and you have to clean up path. You have to cut branches, to trim certain plants, things like that. And sometimes when you don't plan them ahead, you get overwhelmed. And that, just thinking about all the things that you want to do, instead of starting one chore at a time, one thing at a time, so you don't get overwhelmed and tired the first half hour that you started. So that's something that it's very important for me to share. I write about it too, because I want people to know that they can do gardening and they can learn from their experiences, they can learn from other people, and they don't have to be good in everything. They don't have to be experts in everything. So through that process, you get to have, your confidence. You build your confidence through your experience in the garden, through asking people what they're doing, and again, so there's so many things that you can enjoy while you're at home during this quarantine, but also as soon as the quarantine ends, you can still doing them and be more happy about it.
Yeah, and just start and do something. I say start small.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up. Things are going to go wrong, but a lot of things will go right too. And just to see those little seedlings emerge, a wonderful treat. It's time here in Alaska. You actually could have started quite a few things earlier, but it's time for everything right now. So I mean, we got to go for it. You can get out in your yard. We do Perla, a lot of raised beds too. So sometimes like 2x12s, or encouraging maybe our older gardeners, of which I am one, for elevated beds or like a tabletop gardening. And we did talk to Tony Gattoni on one of our first interview with her book, The Lifelong Gardener, about adapting, but that's even for younger folks. Like one of her tips was changing up the chores. Like you're doing a lot of raking, and then go do something else, because then you're using different muscles and you're moving and doing something else. And since I'm so ADD, that helps me anyway, because I kind of all over the place. But when I'm gardening, it's okay. It works.
Yeah, and that's another thing. When you plan based on what are your own necessities. And because if you're someone, if even if you're not older person, but but you have a back problem, you have to plan, because based on that okay, I have a back problem, so I want to garden, no excuse for that. So I have to raise my beds, and maybe I can use a tabletop instead of it be seated and things like that. So you have to plan for that activity. Also, if you are a person who who has arthritis, things like that. So you have to plan it, and you have to know right way before you start if your tools are adequate enough for you to handle, because the more pressure or the more trouble you go through the experience of gardening, the less you want to do it then. So you're gonna be like less time in the garden because you are in pain, or you are not comfortable enough. So you have to plan for that. I wanted to show you guys few of the things that I picked up today in the garden center. What was left, like in terms of things for the vegetable garden, things like that. So I bought a chocolate mint.
Oh, one of my favorites.
It's the first time I bought one of these, because most of the time I bought the green one, the traditional one. So I bought 2 of these, and there were almost no peppers, but we have this kind of pepper that is called ají, sweet pepper, that we use a lot here in Puerto Rico to make sazon, like this sauce, the base for cooking. And some lantana that we call in Puerto Rico cariaquillo, for our pollinators garden. So lantana is huge here in the island, that and of course is a plant for sunny. But as you can see, I have some hydrangeas.
The plant of the year, right?
Yeah, exactly. But this one is, I'm gonna be transplanting this one, and I bought one for me, but the other one is for one of my stepdaughter that she's turning 18 tomorrow. I can't believe that.
Wow.
But hydrangeas, hortensias in Spanish, are huge during May. It's one of the top gifts that mothers receive. So even though it's not a native plant in Puerto Rico, producers have it, and of course people go through a lot of trouble trying to keep the hydrangeas alive, but it just survived, couple of weeks, or mostly for people 2 months. But it is a very beloved plant, a flowering plant that here in the island people like to have, and they give as a gift during Mother's Day.
Good. And it is a plant of the year from the Perennial Plant Association. And there are some videos going on, instructional videos or informational ones that I guess maybe AgroChic could post those, or I could post those.
I wrote about hydrangeas the other day, and I repost a few of the Garden.com members that they were having seminars, or they have a special podcast about hydrangeas maintenance. So I reposted few of them, because we are suckers for hydrangeas here. Definitely.
And we're actually starting to grow those here at one of the schools that was remodeled or built into a brand new school. It's beautiful. But the shrubbery outside, they did some edible currants, which was amazing, but hydrangeas too, and they seem to be surviving. Yeah. So that's kind of a new thing for us. We kill a lot of plants here that we try and grow things that, won't work in our zone, but we try anyway.
Exactly, the same here, because our zone is depending which part of the island you are, and when during the year. But here I live by the coast, and the zone, the climate zone, is from 11 to 13. And if you are in the center of the island, that sometimes yes, I have a AgroChic page. Let me write it here.
Oh, good idea.
AgroChic.
It's AgroChic.com.
And Facebook is /
Hey, I want to tell Ronnie too, she's buying hoses. you should look at Fair Trade Organics on Old Seward Highway by Dowling. There's a Subway right there. They have, I know for sure they carry the dram hoses, maybe Southside Garden Supply, but the dram hoses are beautiful, colorful hoses. They're wonderful.
Oh my God, I have you here.
And then there's also the quick connect things that you know, just snap your hose. Yeah, the dram watering ones, this good stuff, colorful.
This one is for, I did a raffle the other day and I have to send this one, but I have like 3. You know when I got them.
I do know.
You know where.
I have a few too.
I love this because when it's hot, I like to water my plants from the distance and it's amazing. But at the same time, it's awesome because you can go into certain areas of your garden that and have control of it, and so you don't have to be so close, or maybe you can't go in because it's so bushy or something. So I love this one.
Yeah.
You too, Ronnie?
Yeah, and like I say, they're quick connect things that you just.
Oh, Ronnie has a metallic orange. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. The quick connects. I'm going to splurge and get that this year.
That is so worth it. Yeah, they are good. When you unplug them and the water's still on, it will not squirt out. You won't get all wet. So.
But I loved it. I was mentioning about how sometimes the weather in different part of the island. For example, in the center of the island, which is more there are more mountains, etc. And we during the November, from October till December, January, it can go down. The temperature can go down into the 50s and 60s. So there are certain things that you can grow there more easily than in the coast. But we try everything, and that's the thing. And with all the changes, the climate changes, that now that while you think that you can grow in the tropics, now you have it. The same happened in the States. Things that you thought that only in the tropics you can grow certain things, you can grow them. So that's part of it. And I'm glad I can see experiments around the world about people trying new things, and sometimes go well and sometimes don't. Well,
yeah. I have on my Facebook page a little tour of my greenhouse, which is really full. It's not that clean. I mean, it's full of bugs and stuff. There's stuff everywhere, but it's like when I was teaching school, the orders were that active learning should be portrayed. So there's definitely active learning in my greenhouse, but I grow cannas and callas. I've got
callas are popular here too.
I've got cactus, I've got succulents. I do a lot of tropicals, datura, gingers from Hawaii. So it's I never thought about it before. It's kind of an international garden. I've got the elephant ears also.
I have those. Yes.
You would, yeah. I don't know if they're native there. But,
yes.
But in the summer, I put them out in my yard in special places. And I had a friend come over one summer and said, man, it looks like California here or something. So
yeah, I have to do some transplanting of those because now that the weather is getting hotter, you start to see them like dying back. And I'm gonna do some transplanting and put them or some of them in pots to bring them in because it's starting to be very hot.
Yeah, I wintered them over in the greenhouse, and I do let them die back, but we keep it above freezing, and now they're up about 2 feet and filling out and looking pretty good. They're pretty happy.
Yes.
In there, but they're going outside here for a Alaskan vacation soon. So it's fun growing what you aren't supposed to be able to grow.
Exactly.
Well, Perla, we've been at this about an hour. I sure appreciate your time. It's so nice to see you and chat. And
Yes.
we can stay in touch. It probably won't see you in Charleston. It looks like. I don't know if that's going to happen or if everybody's going to be flying.
Yeah, we're still waiting for news from the organization from Garden Camp to see if they are gonna go forward with the conference. Yes.
But we'll stay in touch anyway.
Yes.
It was great to be able to be with you, and I sure appreciate your time. And
I'm so happy to share with you, with Ronnie, Stacy. These are the kind of conversations that you miss, especially when you go to conference and see smiley faces, things like that. So yeah, I sure will miss that from the conference, because it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it is.
To make a decision to travel. So yeah. But thank you. I had a blast here talking.
Good.
It was like, oh yes, we are doing this public. Yes.
Yeah. Do you have anything to some words in Spanish for our Alaska listeners, especially?
Words?
Yeah, something in Spanish that you would recommend.
A sembrar se ha dicho. Go ahead and go garden. A sembrar se ha dicho. You know, for me, the most important in any language is that use your backyard, your front yard as a tool for your well-being. That's for me even more important than any specific Spanish word. And that's something that I keep telling people, and every time that I have the chance to chat with someone or do my own interviews, and I like to share with the audience that use in a conscious way your garden if you have it, and if you are able to go outside to a park or a garden, and we hope that ours are open soon. Use it as a tool for your mental health. Now it's more than ever important to go outside. Now you cherish a lot to go outside, and we certainly, and that we have, a good the weather, a weather that it's special, and sometimes you stay in home, you stay at home and think, oh, maybe go later. Now you're cherishing those moments, and now you want to be more time outside. So if you have a garden, use it for your well-being, for your health, for the health, environment health, and even for your finances, because it helps you in a lot of ways. And we are gonna be, this decade is gonna be shaped about what we do for our well-being, and the gardens are gonna be stars, and we can make them more important than ever.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So good to see you. Be safe.
See you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. All right. Talk to you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thanks, Perla.
Thank you, Stacy.